All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are diving deep into the super high-stakes, incredibly fast world of finance. And we're asking a really big question. Can an AI actually make it in this environment? We're going to look at how these specialized AIs are being built, and, maybe even more importantly, how we know if they're any good. So, first things first, we've got to understand why finance is such a uniquely tough place for AI to play. I mean, this isn't like asking an AI to write a nice little poem. The financial world moves at lightning speed, where fortunes can literally be made or wiped out in the blink of an eye.
And this quote from Robert Arnott, man, it just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures the challenge here. Finance demands tools that can live on that uncomfortable razor's edge of profitability, where risk and reward are always doing this crazy dance. And that is exactly why your standard run-of-the-mill AI just is not going to cut it.
Let's really break down these hurdles, because they're a big deal. First, you've got this high temporal sensitivity. What does that mean? It means news that's just an hour old might as well be from the Stone Age. The window to act on it is tiny. Then there's high dynamism. The market is basically a living thing. It's always shifting. Trying to retrain a giant AI model every single day to keep up? That's just crazy expensive and totally impractical. And maybe the biggest one, the low signal-to-noise ratio. For every single golden nugget of info, there's a massive ocean of noise, rumors, social media chatter, you name it. A general AI just gets lost trying to find the needle in that giant haystack. So, if a general AI is completely out of its depth, what's the answer? Well, you don't use a jack of all trades. You build a specialist. And this is exactly where something like FinGPT enters the picture. It's an open-source tool built from the ground up to deal with these exact financial puzzles. And this analogy is just perfect. Using a big, general-purpose language model for serious financial work is like asking your family doctor to perform open-heart surgery. Sure, they know a lot about medicine in general, but you really, really want the cardiac surgeon, the specialist who's done this 1,000 times. FinGPT? Well, that's your surgeon. So how do they actually build this specialist? You can think of the FinGPT framework like a 4-layer kick, and it's all about the data. The bottom layer grabs everything it can. Live news, social media, company reports, the works. Layer 2 is the bouncer. It's the data engineering that cleans everything up and kicks out all that noise we were talking about. The third layer, that's the real heart of it all. That's where they fine-tune language models using this super clean, finance-specific data. And finally, the top layer is where the rubber meets the road, deploying this sharp, focused AI for things like robo-advising or market sentiment analysis. Okay, but wait a second. We just talked about how fast the market changes, right? That whole high dynamism thing? So how does FinGPT keep up? The secret sauce is a clever technique called LoRA. The easiest way to think about it is like a smart little software patch. Instead of having to retrain the entire massive model from scratch every single day, LoRA lets you make these small, lightweight, targeted updates. It's a way to keep the AI sharp and irrelevant super quickly and without spending a fortune. All right, so we've built our specialist AI surgeon. Awesome, but how do we know it's actually any good? How do you test its skills before you let it anywhere near a real portfolio? And that's where we shift gears from building the tool to grading it, using something called FinBen. And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's one thing to say your model is good, but in finance, that's not enough. You have to be able to measure it. You need a standardized test, a brutal gauntlet that pushes these AIs to their absolute limits and gives you a clear, objective score. And the answer to that question is FinBen. This is the first really comprehensive open-source test designed specifically to see how these models handle real financial tasks. You can think of it like an academic decathlon for financial AI, covering a whole range of skills that are split into 3 different levels of difficulty, which they call spectrums. So let's start with level 1, Spectrum I, the fundamentals. This is all about the basic stuff. Can the AI read a news headline and figure out if it's good or bad for a stock? Can it scan a dense annual report and pull out the key numbers accurately? You know, these are the essential building blocks of financial intelligence, what the researchers call quantification and extract. Next, we crank up the difficulty with Spectrum 2. This is where we test for advanced cognition. This isn't just about finding facts anymore, it's about creating new insights. Can the AI listen to a super long, jargon-filled earnings call and then spit out a short, accurate summary? Can it look at a bunch of financial data and actually forecast the risk that someone might default on a loan? This takes a much, much deeper level of thinking. And then there's Spectrum 3. This is it, the final boss, the test of general intelligence. Here, The AI has to pull everything together. It has to look at the data, understand the sentiment, make a forecast, and then actually execute a trading strategy in a simulation. The ultimate question is, can this thing actually make money while managing risk? This is the absolute peak of the FinBen test.
So the stage is set, the tests have been run. What's the verdict? What does the report card actually look like for some of the big models you've heard of, like GPT-4 and Gemini? Well, the results are pretty fascinating. What they found is this really interesting split. GPT-4, it turns out, is a master of precision. It crushed those Spectrum I tasks, the quantifying, the extracting, the number crunching, and it was surprisingly good at the Spectrum 3 stock trading simulation. But Gemini, on the other hand, really shined in those more creative, predictive tasks from Spectrum 2, like generating summaries and making forecasts. So the takeaway is, no single model is the king of everything.
Yeah, and this table really tells the story, doesn't it? While the big-name models are great at the simpler stuff, they both still really struggle when it comes to the seriously complex challenges, especially forecasting. The research is clear. Even with all their power, they need a lot of domain-specific help. The finance-specific models do a bit better, but it just goes to show you that this is still an incredibly hard problem to crack.
So what does this all mean? If no single AI can do it all, what's the future actually look like? Well, the answer isn't one master AI that rules them all. It's about a team of AIs. It's all about collaboration.
And this is a brilliant way to picture it. Just imagine a system where you have different AI agents, and each one is a specialist. You might have an investment research agent over here, whose entire job is just to read everything and come up with insights. And then you've got a trading agent over there that takes those insights and figures out the best way to execute the strategy in the real market.
So, at the end of the day, the goal is a collaborative ecosystem. A tool like FinGPT isn't meant to be a lone wolf. It's designed to be one expert player on a bigger team. Maybe it's the star data analyst agent. And a benchmark like FinBen is what gives us the confidence to know which position each player is best at. This whole multi-agent idea, where every part is specialized and tested, that's how AI is really going to supercharge human decision-making in finance.
And that really leaves us with one last big thought. We've seen a blueprint for how to build a specialist AI for a world as messy as finance, and a report card to grade it. Now that we know it can be done, the question isn't if this is going to happen in other complex fields, it's which one is next, and just how fast is it all going to change. Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.